Hi, welcome to the Market Alert for Wednesday, the 13th of December 2017. So yesterday the pound starting to move higher prior to the inflation news. If you were long this market, you will see that by 9:30, just before the release of the news, the market was back towards break even. If you were in this, you didn't really want to be in it because the inflation figures have been the reason why Carney has increased interest rates last month. And there we see the market respond with a sell. It rallies first from the news and then moves lower. And the news behind this move, we've got here that inflation rate at 6-year high. And there you can see that inflation rose to 3.1%. in November, the highest in nearly 6 years, as the squeeze on households continue. We all know it's more than 3.1%, but the funny thing about this is it's like a schoolmaster and a child. It just makes me laugh, and I wonder what happens if Carney doesn't do this. Carney, the governor of the Bank of England, will now have to write a letter to the Chancellor, Philip Hammond, explaining how the bank intends to bring inflation back to its 2% target. And what if he doesn't? Does he get detention or something? I mean, this is just insane, isn't it? But this has been going on since Labour came in 1997. They've got to account for their inability as a central bank to keep inflation under control. It's called passing the buck. But it just tickles me every time I see this that they have to write a letter, explaining themselves. It's just very, very funny. Back to the pound. That's the Dow. We see then the market just rally up. Some selling coming in, and then the market, the pound being taken up with matters to do with Brexit again. So, daily chart, you can see it was a fairly quiet day given the news there. And now we're back below the 20-bar average as well. So that short move to the upside that we've had, or the recent up move, to save any confusion, you can see there now is starting to make lower highs and move back towards the downside. And whilst we're here, let's have a quick look at news today. It's a big day today. We've got let's just have a look at the UK before we get to the US. Average earnings index, unemployment rate, claimant count change. That's used to be called unemployment figures. All out at 9:30. The market's going to be keeping an eye on that. Then we head out to the US for the CPI, core CPI, crude oil inventories, and then we've got the FOMC statements. The live one, last one of this year, and the last one for Yellen, thankfully. So that's the news. And the market yesterday, the stock market Dow moving high. You've got the buying from the start, you can see there, and then we got some profit taken as we approach the 24,500 level. This is the 500 level, the red line. See them buying back, a bit more selling comes in, then we're free to go, and the market they're moving higher, and then the same later on, and the market making a new all-time high for yesterday. So let me just widen these bars and remove this. It went through the 76% yesterday as well, obviously in anticipation of the market seeing a rate rise this evening. So let's just do that. And I mean, if you ever wanted a bubble, they go on about Bitcoin, but this one's been going on since 2009, engineered, central bank fed and led, and there you can see new all-time highs. But you never see this mentioned in the news about it being in a bubble. All you're getting at the moment is this sort of news. It's official. Bitcoin surpasses Tulip Mania. It's now the biggest bubble in world history. I don't know whether it's a bubble or not. What constitutes a bubble? We've seen that we've got bubbles in the stock market, the housing market, the bond market, one starting to fall apart. And yet, like I say, it's not reported, and never a mention of this. And I wouldn't imagine it's even in any of these graphs here. No, you can see it's just quite amazing, isn't it? Oh, actually, no, I take it all back. US stocks 2009 today is a bubble. That's also in here, but you can't compare something like Tulip Mania and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a change in paradigm. It's something completely new and has no relevance to these other bubbles that they're talking about here, because you can't even value it against anything like this. And that's a bit of an issue for anybody calling it a bubble, because it's completely new. It's very difficult to measure. Yes, I'm sure there's a mania. There's no doubts about that. There's a lot of people who want a piece of the action, who wouldn't, because the market's making the moves that it's doing at the moment. But what's to stop it continuing to move higher? Because it is something new. It could replace the existing fiat system. Who knows? Who knows what's behind it, who's behind it, and all the rest of it. But that's for another video, because that's very interesting as well. What we've got here. Oh yeah, Interactive Brokers are going to allow shorts now, but don't get too excited, because as it says down here, if I can find it, I've obviously moved off that. Yeah, an interesting thing, that these are the restrictions for being able to short. The spread must be 1-to-1, and the short leg, the selling leg, must have the earlier expiry date, so that once it expires, the surviving leg will be long. I wonder why. That's because obviously the buy side is still the best side, and even they're making rules based on this at the moment. Traders won't be offered, trading won't be offered in retirement accounts or to Japanese residents. I don't know why that is. They won't allow Japanese residents. I know that Japan has officially recognized that Bitcoin is a currency, so maybe that's the reason. And the amount of Japanese, when they get on board with something, they get on board. So I would imagine that's the reason. And again, that wouldn't make any sense really if they wanted to squeeze Bitcoin, because they probably, well, actually, knowing the Japanese, they'd probably buy it. They wouldn't actually sell it. So that's the reason, probably the rationale behind that. As it says here, it sounds more like IB is allowing traders to short the front month against the back month. Not exactly what most were hoping for, but it's progress perhaps. For now, the news has prompted some selling pressure across the complex. Only the futures, of course. That's all it's allowed. And this is the piece de resistance, because so prepare for the pending short squeeze, as all the smartest people in the room pile in the short on this no-brainer bubble. So they will do, but the trouble is you'll end up with a squeeze and then a massive buyback as the stops are hit, as people realise that it won't go down, or if it does go down and they have a shakeout, then the buying in the disconnected market, the spot market, the real Bitcoin market. It's very, very difficult to call it a real market when it's a cryptocurrency, but the exchanges have no control of that. So if they try and force the price down with the futures market, then what's going to happen it's going to be a bargain for anybody that's trading cryptocurrencies to add to their portfolio, and that will create the short squeeze that they're talking about there. They'll have to get out of the shorts and buy the long, and that will accelerate Bitcoin to the upside. So interesting there. Nothing to report on the implied volatility, down slightly. I will show you the chart, just one second. So nothing major to report here, just down from 9.15 to 9.07. You'd expect that with the market putting in a new all-time high yesterday. Perfect relationship there. It seems to all come back into balance at the moment. But then again, most news items and everything, even the business channels now, are 24/7 Bitcoin, as opposed to concentrating on things that like the stock markets being in bubbles. They'll be looking to push and drive this higher as we go towards the final week of depends again though, saying that, I'm just thinking out loud. We've got a situation where the market's expecting a rate rise of 0.25%. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if she backs out on that one. So 7 p.m. tonight, keep that in mind. Right, that'll do it for this one, and if there's anything to report, I'll let you know. Other than that, as ever, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.